today we are going to discuss about memorandum. As we all know that memorandum again is very important whenever we talk about internal communications. If you remember, in the last class we discussed about notice writing, and in today's class we are going to talk about memo. Before we proceed in to the main topic, I would like to know from you all, how many of you set reminders in your mobile phone in order to recall that if it is your friend's birthday, or if it is anniversary of your parents or any of your near and dear ones, or there is an important task to be assigned or to be done on so and so day. So do you really set reminders? Of course, you must have done that. And many a times, because of that reminder, you can not only do your work on the given time or on the given day, but at the same time, it also helps you to finish your task, finish the assigned task in the stipulated time frame, right? So there are many benefits of using the reminders. The same thing is being done even when we talk about the internal communication within the organization, between one department to the other, or from one even from one vertical to the other, or within the department from one person to the other. That is by sharing the memo. In short, if somebody says memo, you can name it as a reminder, a note which helps people to recall, to remember what was asked, what was to be done on so and so day. So to give you a brief, when we talk about memorandum, in short, which is also called as memo, there are other names by which this word memorandum is identified. People do call it as circular as well as spirals. The word memorandum is derived from the Latin word which means memore. Memore is to make people remember or to remind someone about something, something that they have to do, or something that they have to do or schedule it accordingly, according to the given timeline. So when we talk about memory, we have to keep in our mind that it is reminding us to do something. And then when we talk about reminders, these are very important when we talk about internal communication. How reminding something is important, let us understand about it. Many times, after sharing the notice on the due date or on the due course of time, when people tend to forget their job, it may happen that you may have a bad relationship with clients. You may sometimes hamper your growth. Sometimes you may also lose even your good contracts. So therefore, you should always remember reminders will help you to bridge the gap. Reminders will also help you to function in a proper way, to complete the processes in a proper way, to have a smooth flow of communication from one person to the other. So when we talk about the reminders, or whenever we make people remind about their task or duties, it helps them to communicate in a proper manner. It helps them to understand the processes in a proper manner and to focus with the process in a proper way. So when we talk about memorandum or memo, they are generally used to remind people, as I have already discussed. It also talks about sharing the information from one department to the other department. Sometimes memo is issued to a single person, or probably you are sharing to head of the department so that he can convey the same to the other members of the department, or from one branch to the other branch. So it is generally used in order to remind people of the same organization. Unlike the notice, which was shared in large, memorandum is shared only within the organization. There is a limit of the purview when we talk about the boundaries. It is limited, or it is restricted within the organization framework. So you cannot issue a memo to the other person who is not working in your organization. So therefore, you should always remember memos are generally used to interact and to contact with only those people who are directly or indirectly associated within the framework of your organization. So when we talk about issuing memo, the most important thing that we should always keep in our mind is, like as we have already discussed, talking about communication, short, simple, and straightforward. The language that we use is again formal tone. We will not try to exaggerate the statement. As it is a reminder message, the message should be very short, it should be simple, and it is easy to remind the people about what the task was assigned. Similarly, it must reach to the people in due course of time. Say, for example, if you are reminding someone about an event just 10 minutes or 5 minutes before the actual event that is going to be scheduled, that will not solve the purpose. So always remember, minimum 24 hours should be given in order to make people remind, or in order to make people prepare themselves. so that they can present themselves in a better way. A proper timeline should be given so that they can function accordingly and they can reach up as to the expectation of the organization. Now you may get a doubt that if we are talking so much about memo, how do we write a memo? What is the format of the memo? Let us understand about the format of the memo with the next slide. As you can see here in the presentation that's shared with you people on the screen, the name of the issuing authority will be written on the top. The organization or the institution or the agency under whom you're working, or the department head which is going to issue this particular memo, they are going to write their name on the top, followed by a brief address. Then comes the next word, inter-office memo. To just give you a recall information, please remember when we talk about the notice, we said, or it was defined, that the word notice and the title should be very clearly mentioned. So similarly here, whenever you are writing a memo, you should let the people know what it is. It is an inter-office memo. That is, the memo is shared between two different offices, from one department to the other department. Hence, it is called as inter-office memo. What is the common thing that will be seen in a memo as well as in the notice? Please remember, date is again very, very important. Who is issuing the memo, to whom it is issued, what is the reference, and what is the subject. Identifying the reference. Now, there are different organizations which will be using the reference number in different ways. There are different styles, there are different codes, there are different ways of presenting or writing the references. So, when we talk about writing references, please remember the name of the organization or the abbreviation that is used by the organization will be written, followed by the date or the year, then comes the department, and then comes the number. Say, for example, is this the first memo or the second memo or the third memo? If I'm talking about 2021, and if I am taking the same organization as an example, I call it as International School of Management Patna. So I have mentioned it, or the abbreviation that is used is ISMP, that is International School of Management Patna, followed by the office, which is the issuing authority. The name of the issuing authority or the authority which is going to issue this memo is the principal. So therefore, principal's office, PO, oblique 2021. And if I'm talking about January, that would be my first memo. So I'm going to write 01. So to whom am I going to issue the memo? From where, from which person the memo is getting issued, that will be mentioned under the segment to and from. Not to forget, date is must. To, again, to whom you are going to issue the memo, from where it is getting issued, what is the reference number, and what is the subject line. Subject line again matters a lot. The purpose should be very clearly identified and prescribed. Then comes the main message, the message that you want to deliver. Here you can see in the example, people are talking or discussing about the punctuality of the faculty members, of the staff members of International School of Management Patna, and the principal wants that every person, whosoever is working in this organization, they must follow the timeline. They must be very punctual in coming to the institute. So there is a message that is being shared by the principal in order to inform people, in order to remind people about the timing or about the punctuality of their coming and leaving the institute. So keep this in your mind that memos are always shared within the department member, or from one person to the other person, or from one branch to the other branch, which is also called as inter-office memo. There are different names by which this memo is identified. Sometimes we call it as circular, sometimes we call it as spirals, because it rotates. It reaches back to the issuing authority. So therefore, it is also called as spiral. So when we talk about memos, they are reminders, and the reminder should be sent in a proper given timeline. Please remember, any memo issued just before the event will not serve the purpose. So a proper timeline should be mentioned, should be identified by which the memo could be issued. That's all in today's class. So in today's class, we discuss about memo, the use of memo, the format, as well as the template, the sample of a memo. See you all in the next class with another topic wherein we are going to talk about agenda writing. Thank you very much for attending today's class. Take care.